All right, hello there. Happy Sunday from Amplifier Brokenville. So that's one of Brent's Marshalls. There's the good part. It's alive. The bad part, though, I still got an issue with it. I gotta play around with the bias, and I gotta play around with the looking at some of the caps, because there's a little bit of a that buzz. That's either a ground loose in there somewhere, or a cap. Now my house has a ground problem in the house, so I know that already. But I'm using a Furman power conditioner that filters that out, so I know how much buzz is normal in this building. I'm gonna end up having to redo the electrical so I have a good ground. But that being said, I know how much buzz you should hear, and that is more than the normal. So I know that this is the amp that I showed you all the stuff that burned up and basically blew the caps apart and stuff. So there may still be an issue inside this amp. The first step was to get it alive, make it work, and then I can troubleshoot sound-wise what's going on with it. But so now it is alive. So it works. I just have to get in there and fine tune it and make sure that the buzz goes away, and everything else will be fine. But it's initially alive, so I don't know if I'll have this one done in time to deliver it this coming weekend. I'll try really hard, but I don't know if I will. But I will give it a shot. So anyway, I'm gonna shut this down just for a second and switch amplifiers and show you something else. All right, we're back, and I've got the other Marshall on the bench now. What you can hear sounds extremely dead. But weirdly, if you wait a second, it'll kind of get a little louder, and then it dissipates. That's the indication of either a bad diode or a bad capacitor in the preamp circuit somewhere. But I'm going to zoom the camera in a little bit and show you why that is no fun in these newer Marshall amps. This one's not very old. They are picky because of how it's got the microelectronics that I've talked about, the surface mount stuff that I've talked about several times in here. But I'm going to show you a couple little things on this. And then it's going to require, I'm going to stop after that for the day, but it's going to require a lot of study, because this is one of those amps that's a very crazy puzzle, and narrowing it in on the exact cause of it is pretty darn tricky. It's, like I said several times, it would be easier to do if I had a signal generator and an oscilloscope of the proper type to do this. Because it would make chasing the signal down a lot simpler. Doing it the way I'm doing it, it's very difficult to do. And sometimes I can't tackle the problem because the methods that I use aren't what you really need to chase that down. You need an oscilloscope and a signal generator to try to track down the loss of signal. But anyways, but you can hear that. You hear how it got really loud and then not so much. That is a capacitor charging up and then discharging and charging up and discharging and not doing it properly, which again I said is probably a diode. But tracking it down is the tricky part. So let me stop this for just 1 second. Okay, so what I've done here is I told you I was going to show you a little trick. So there's the amp. Even the reverb's working. So what I've done is I've taken the guitar cable, the input, which would normally be here in the front, and I've gone into the return plug on the effects loop. What that does is that it completely bypasses the preamp section of the amplifier and uses only the power portion of it, which is what you're hearing. But in this one, it happens to have the reverb on the power section of it. So what that tells me is that the problem is in the input side of the amplifier. So I'm going to put this down for just a second, and I'm going to leave it on so that I can do that. And I'm going to get my trusty Don't Kill Me stick and show you how you can get to the bottom of some of this stuff. When you do that in these things, and you touch the caps that are in the circuit, you will hear the signal change. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to put it back to. I'm going to put the guitar input back into the front of the amp, so that you got that going on. And then we're going to go through here. And you hear that fun sizzle sound. That's kind of nice. And you hear it when it started to go away there for a second. So what I'm hitting in here is part of the preamp circuit. I'm tapping on some of the capacitors and diodes in the preamp circuit, because the reason why I'm doing this, and I'll stop right there for now, but the reason why you do that is because one of the reasons why I don't necessarily like the circuit board type, newer type amplifiers. A lot of folks are saying that it's on a circuit board and it's all the electronics are clean and neat and all that kind of stuff. And yes, circuit boards were even used on Mesa Boogies from the start. So circuit boards are not necessarily bad. The problem is that these circuit boards are mass produced with a lot of automation, which makes the soldering not as quality conscious as the best way I could say it, not as quality conscious as doing it by hand. If you do it by hand, you've got people that care and they take the time to make sure that it's right, that each solder joint is right, and then you get quality control to come behind and look and make sure that it's proper. You end up with solder joints that'll last. This situation here, when I'm doing this, I can detect cracked solder joints, and that's usually what this ends up being. The problem with things like this is that the solder joints have come loose, and you have to take the circuit board out, get to the back of it, and go across all the solder joints and resolder the thing. And this amplifier is less than 2 years old. So for an $800 item, less than 2 years old, to have that kind of problem, that's why I like handmade stuff, and that's why I also like stuff made in the U.S. because we have better quality control here. That is what everybody's been complaining about in the world lately. Is not so much that we don't like stuff made in other places, because some of the stuff made in other places is awesome. We don't like poor quality. That's the issue. And a lot of the places that stuff is made overseas have very, very poor quality control. And being somebody that spent the majority of my career life and my adult life in the quality control sections of aerospace, it gives you a very good sense of what's good and what isn't. And quality control is a very, very touchy thing. And that's why this kind of stuff ends up on my bench. The stuff that I had earlier with the one that was working, the Brent's amp, that isn't a quality control issue. Those are made very well. The problem with those amps is that people use them, they use them a lot, they get very loud, and they end up blowing themselves to pieces. And somebody came to say hello. She says, I'm making a video and I need to be in it. So say hello to Winky, the noisy, whiny kitty. She helped me eat my burrito and my chimichanga, but she said that wasn't enough. She likes the shredded beef. Yes, we know. Okay, you go down there for a minute. All right. So anyway, that's the deal with the amplifiers. I have to dig into Brent's Marshall and figure out where the buzz is coming from, which, like I said, it's a cap or a ground or some issue like that, and then I have to go track through this thing and figure out what part of the preamp circuit that buzzy, jittery sound is coming from. Because as I showed, when I plug into the power amp only, it works. Problems in the preamp side, and it's definitely, sorry about that. It's definitely capacitor related. So it's going to be an interesting little find when I do get to the bottom of it. So anyway, enough of that for now, and I'm going to go and sit down and rest because it's been a very long, busy troubleshooting electronics weekend, and I'm going to go sit there and talk to my whiny little kitty down here and see if the cats will enjoy some Star Trek with me, because they usually do. They pile up on me in my chair and they like to watch Star Trek because all the lights and lasers and stuff going off. They enjoy all those fancy lights, and sometimes they try to chase them and catch them. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. Like I said, I will most likely be headed to Oklahoma City on Saturday. But the only reason I'm going to be doing that is because at this point, because I need to go see someone up there that's one of my customers. But not sure if I'm going to get these amplifiers done by Saturday in order to take them up there. But that's the way it goes. So I'll do my best, and we'll see how that works out. So you guys have a great Sunday afternoon. Enjoy your week. Be safe. And I will say this: I am not a sports fan. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I really don't care about sports. That's just me. I never have. But I have lots of friends that are rooting for the Oklahoma City team, and they have one more game, one more chance. So I'll say a prayer for the team and for all you guys that are rooting for the OKC basketball team. Hope they pull it off. So the Oklahoma deserves that. So blessings to them and blessings to everybody else out here. And you guys be safe, and I will see you throughout the week. Bye.